Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of Voice of Radio. So today, I want to talk about Grimsley. I don't talk about Grimsley very much. In fact, I don't think I've actually talked about Grimsley since we did the reveal video about Grimsley. And the thing is, I tell you this all the time. The reason, one of them, that I look at every single new card is because you never know what's going to be good. And the reason I am always looking for new cards and old cards and always looking through all options is because you never know what's going to be good. And I think we've now gotten to the stage where Grimsley is really good. Not as a deck in and of itself, not as some kind of infallible ultimate card, but in terms of a really, really good deck against a specific matchup, oh my word, this just got good. Now, for those of you that may have forgotten, Grimsley says that you may move up to 3 damage counters from one of your opponent's Pokemon to another of your opponent's Pokemon. And frankly, ladies and gentlemen, the reason we're playing this is Spiritomb. You see, Spiritomb done got good. Spiritomb was a nice little fringe card, a nice little fancy card. I mean, we saw Hooper Spiritomb a little while ago with Umbreon get rather nice when Shintaro Ito went and won a tournament in Japan with it. And that was a fun little card. But for a long time, and I mean a long time, Spiritomb was not taken seriously. Spiritomb is now taken extremely seriously. Spiritomb as a deck in and of itself with stuff like Galarian Zigzagoon and Mewtwo just to back it up is arguably the best deck around right now. It won the Limitless Invitational. And I know that a bunch of people have said, actually it's the best counter deck. And don't get me wrong, those people are correct. It is the best counter deck and it is there because it counters decks. But as far as I'm concerned, when you take a Pokemon, a deck, and it goes and wins an Invitational, the pool of players from which have been taken out of a qualification featuring literally thousands of people, and then that wins, I'm cool calling that the best deck. Not the best counter deck, the best deck. Every single deck that wins any tournament whatsoever, has to have good matchups against the field. Doesn't matter how good your deck is in a vacuum, and Garboda's a great example of this. Garboda was the best deck until it got rotated. The problem was everybody stopped playing as many trainers or item cards, and without as many item cards, Garboda became a lot worse. Didn't make Garboda a bad deck, it just meant that Garboda didn't have the matchups anymore. But nobody called Garboda a counter deck. Yes, it was designed to counter the best decks in the game, but we can still call it the best deck because every deck that does well in a big tournament has good matchups. I think Spiritomb has got to the stage of being just a good archetype now, more than just being a good counter deck. Incidentally, it's also really good as a Spiritomb Ultra Beast deck, playing stuff like Nihilego and Buzzwole. Though those two lists are rather similar. The point is, there are at least 2 archetypes out there featuring Spiritomb being amazing, and I think it's fair to say that this will carry on into the future. It is very, very good. And you see, what Spiritomb does, it's got the ability to put a damage counter on itself, and it's got an attack that does 10 damage, plus 30 more for each damage counter on it. So clearly, the more damage you have on it, the better. But the real reason why Grimsley is so good is Hustle Belt. You see, Hustle Belt is a tool that does an extra 60 damage when attached to a Pokemon that has 30 HP or less remaining and some damage on. Which means if you're playing Spiritomb, you are generally racing to try and get 3 damage counters onto Spiritomb. Now, if you've got 3 on there plus a Hustle Belt, you do 160. That is a KO on a Dedenne, and because of weakness, that is a KO on a Dragapult V Max. It's also a KO on basically any single prize Pokemon. Not all of them, but pretty much all the ones that are actually played and are actually relevant. this will get. And that's where Grimsley comes in. Because generally speaking, your opponent is going to try and have a couple of Spiritomb with 3 damage counters on. The reason they want a couple is because if they've only got 1 Spiritomb with 3 damage counters on, you KO it and then they've got to start again. And let's be clear, they can start again. The general rule with Spiritomb is you need 2 Spiritomb, a Jinx, and a Rainbow Energy. First Spiritomb uses the ability to put a damage counter on itself. Second Spiritomb also puts a damage counter on itself, but then Jinx has an ability that moves the damage counter from one of your Pokemon to another of your Pokemon. So the damage counter from the second Spiritomb goes to the first. You then attach Rainbow Energy to that first Spiritomb, putting a third damage counter on it, and then you're good to go. And you attach Hustle Belt and boom, 160 damage. That is absolutely the play. Well, now in comes Grimsley. And what Grimsley is going to do is it is going to move 3 damage counters from one Spiritomb to another. And you will get an instant KO. Because when you move 3 damage counters from a Spiritomb to another Spiritomb with 3 damage, that makes 6. They get KO'd. Job's a good un. But it also puts the Spiritomb down to 0 damage. Now again, what you really want to do here is try and KO a Spiritomb, leaving another one with Hustle Belt and no damage on. Because now all of a sudden, your opponent needs to try and get 3 damage on that Spiritomb again. And they can, but they've got 1 turn to do so. If they don't do it, you're going to KO that Spiritomb next turn. So now, the turn after you play Grimsley, they need to make sure they've still got the Jinx, and get the second Spiritomb, and get the Rainbow Energy. And that is a very difficult thing to do. Of course, if you KO a Spiritomb without Hustle Belt, they will also need to go and get the Hustle Belt, and as previously mentioned, very difficult thing to do. It's possible, you'll still lose games because of this, but I think it's fair to say that it's going to be a difficult thing to do. And that is beautiful, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely beautiful. Now, of course, the other thing about Grimsley, and this is very important, it's not an attack. It's a supporter. So after taking down Spiritomb, you then get another hit. Your opponent in a Spiritomb deck, Spiritomb will often be their attacker. They will be attacking with Spiritomb. So if you can move the damage from an active Spiritomb to a bench Spiritomb, KO the one on the bench, and then KO the one in the active, that's 2 prizes in 1 turn. Except it's not just 2 prizes in 1 turn, it is taking a damage off the field. Against an evolution deck, you want to get rid of all of their evolutions, forcing them to evolve or not be able to attack. Against an energy-hungry deck, something like Dragapult or Pikachu and Zekrom, you want to try and get rid of all of their energy so that they then basically can't attack for a turn or 2. But against Spiritomb, you want to get rid of their damage. And yes, sure, they can get damage on, but remember, they can only play 4 Rainbow Energy and they cannot recover them. They're generally playing 3 or 4 Hustle Bow and maybe 1 Lana's Fishing Rod. But sooner or later, they're going to run out of Rainbow Energy and they're going to run out of Hustle Belt. And even if they don't run out of them, when they're down to 1 Rainbow Energy in deck and they need to find it this turn, that's not always going to be possible. Sure, they're probably playing something like Aurora Energy or Unit Energy, but then that doesn't put the damage on. And if they're not putting on a damage with Rainbow Energy, then they basically need 3 Spiritomb, 2 Jinx, in order to get an attack with Hustle Belt activated. And it's possible. Of course it's possible. But remember, if you're KOing 2 Spiritomb, and they can't find Rainbow Energy, they need 3 Spiritomb, 2 Jinx in order to get an attack with Hustle Belt. But they can't play 5 Spiritomb. So they need to play something like a Lana's Fishing Rod or an ordinary rod before they even get rolling trying to find the Spiritomb. And that's my point here. Grimsley is not just a cheeky KO against a Spiritomb in the middle of the game to try and put the prize race in your favour. Although to be clear, it is that. Grimsley is that, plus slowing them down, giving them an awkward decision, trying to make sure they can't find that Hustle Battle or they can't find their Rainbow Energy. When this works well, it's a cheeky mid-game KO, combined with a turn of your opponent missing a KO. So you might get a KO with Grimsley, then a KO on the turn you play Grimsley, then a KO the next turn before your opponent really gets a chance to respond. And Spiritomb might be this deck, this card that tries to push the prize race in your favour, but if you're losing free prizes between KOs, you might as well be playing a VMAX deck. And the thing is that, yeah, Grimsley might be a tech, and you might only be playing one copy in your deck, and as a side note, unless you're expecting to play against a lot of Spiritomb, I would suggest only putting one copy in your deck. We're all playing Palpad nowadays. So all of a sudden that one copy of Grimsley becomes two copies of Grimsley. Or if you're playing two Palpad, 3 copies of Grimsley. A lot of decks are playing Poker Gear 3.0 so that they can draw into supporters more easily. And that is going to help you find a tech like this way more easily. I am not saying that you need to play Grimsley in your deck. Nor am I only saying it's only good against Spiritomb. Moving free damage, if you've not KO'd a Pokemon, this means you can, oh wait, no, I'm just a little bit short. Oh wait, no, I attacked that Pokemon earlier in the game, now I'm not short, now I get a KO. But it really is mostly for Spiritomb. And maybe you don't think you're going to be playing against Spiritomb, and if that's the case, fine. Don't use this. But if you do think you're going to be playing against Spiritomb, it is one card in your deck that will make your matchup immeasurably better. Might I suggest taking a chance? There we go. But I'd like to know what you think. Have I gone off the deep end? Am I going a little bit silly here? Or am I onto something? Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Me nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.